You know, it's not always the big and expensive tools that make the difference. Pay no attention to the tools in front of me. We've got 5 tool accessories. Well, really probably 7 or 8 tool accessories that you need in your tool arsenal. The first item up is pretty self-explanatory, and I'm going to give you a couple of options here. It's the Sharpie Pro, which I don't care for the regular Sharpie because they tend to tear up pretty easily. The Pro seems to last a little longer. I personally like the ink Zaws. I think they last longer. Ink Zaws or the Sharpies you can get in a fine tip like you have here. You can also get them in different colors. But they tend to write on about anything and they last a long time. Like I said, either the Sharpie Pro or the ink Zaw markers. And you can typically get these for just a couple of bucks. And a lot of times you can get them into multi-packs as well, like with multiple colors. And be able to get a better deal on those as well. So definitely nice to have a Sharpie around or an ink Zaw marker around to be able to mark on things. Let's get that cleaned up. Nothing a little brake clean won't take care of. Next, we have the right angle impact driver elbow. I actually don't know the name for this, but this is just a very handy device. Whether you're getting inside a cabinet or getting in the door jamb of a vehicle, under the dash of a vehicle, you name it, in those tight spots, it's great to have one of these. And by the way, I've been here before. You use a little 1-inch bit here in the 90-degree elbow, which is great because that's where you're going to get the most efficient use of space, if you will. But then you need to get that bit out. And so you try to grab that with your fingernails. Obviously, you can't get it. And then you go in and try to find your needle nose, and you still may slip on it, not being able to get that out because it's magnetized in there pretty good, especially on this DeWalt. It's got a nice magnetic ring right there to hold that into place as well as to hold any screws on there. But there's a really easy way to do this. So you can take a screw or you can take a pick, and there's a little hole right there in the top, and look at here. You can push that bit right out of there and be able to pull that out. So there's a hole back there for a reason, to be able to push those bits out without any hassle whatsoever. Like I said, a little screw of work to push in there as well. Just something small, paper clip, whatever. Push that bit out. Or you can use your larger 2-inch bits where you have more room, and then you can easily just pull those out. But highly recommend this little 90-degree elbow. Very worth the money. I think this one may run like 20 bucks, but typically you can find them for $10, $15 as well. Now I'm also going to give you some bonus items. And one of those is what I just used as a pick, which I know we're talking about accessories or tool accessories, and really a pick set could be a tool in itself, but regardless, a lot of times when you're using tools, like we just were, to have a pick set really enables you to be a little more efficient at what you're doing. So a really cheap pick set, like you can find at Harbor Freight or on Amazon for just a couple of bucks, or if you want to step up to like a Milwaukee pick set, these are used all the time. In fact, both these sets are. It's in one of my top drawers, and again, it's kind of a go-to item. And something for just a few bucks is very worth having around. Then we have, no, not the Milwaukee die grinder, which I recommend that too. And by the way, there's a lot of people who really complained about this tool, that it wasn't powerful enough when it came out. And I will agree, it's not the most powerful die grinder out there, but I don't think it was meant to be. It's very handy. You don't have to run a hose anywhere. You don't have to have a compressor. And you can use it wherever you would a die grinder. But from what I'm talking about here, I'm not really talking about the die grinder. And also, by the way, many of those people that complained about this, I still see them use it all the time. So regardless, I'm talking about the little disc holder right here, or the roll lock connector here, the backing plate that goes on there. So it's a little quarter turn, and you can put on your bristle discs, like the Scotch-Brite bristle disc right here. So it's just a real quick quarter half turn, and it locks into place. Pull that off. I can put some sanding pads on here, which, by the way, this is a 3-inch backing plate. You can also get it in a 2-inch backing plate as well. But this is very handy to have. You could put this in your drill if you want to, or have an air die grinder, straight die grinder. Don't care. Just get you some of these. It's just very handy to have, whether you're putting on a Scotch-Brite disc, a roll-lock bristle disc, a sanding pad, a flap disc. You can get so many accessories that work with this, and you don't have to remove it from the tool. You just, again, do your 1/4 turn, remove that, and put on the pad that you need. And by the way, a lot of times I also like to run a 3-inch sanding disc on this 2-inch backing plate because it gives me a little flexibility here when I'm kind of trying to feather in an area or something like that when I'm grinding or sanding. So that becomes useful as well. And another word of advice, many times you can take these 3-inch wheels once the outsides are ground off pretty good, and just take some scissors and cut it down to a 2-inch, and now you can still use it for the 2-inch backing plate because rarely does it get worn in here. It's usually always on that outside edge. So that's my third recommendation is the Roloc backing plate and then any of the Roloc discs. And by the way, I would also recommend buy name brand on most of this sanding and grinding stuff because it will be worth your time and your money. And next, we have step drill bits. And I don't care what brand you get. Again, you're going to pay for the quality that you get most of the time. But you can buy some stuff if you look at reviews and things like that on Amazon where you can get some decent step bits. You know, whether you're getting Greenlee's or something like that. These are actually Toolant or Toolant, Toolant. And we actually reviewed these. We're pretty happy with them. Diablo obviously makes really good step drill bits. Milwaukee makes great step drill bits. So there's several manufacturers out there that make great step drill bits, and they're just very handy to have. So whether you need to actually drill a hole or you just need to enlarge a hole, by the way, those grab pretty good. I think the Diablos grab a little less. A little smoother cut there on the Diablos, but I would highly recommend you brace these. Anyway, so step drill bits are great for either opening up a hole or being able to drill, even start a hole and be able to expand it to the size that you need. Very handy tool or accessories to have. And really branching off of that, off the die grinder and the step drills, is a Carbide Bur Bit set. This is really handy for opening up holes, smoothing out holes, whether that be aluminum, whether it be steel, whatever you're needing to do and you need to open up a hole or you need to, you know, really kind of modify a hole or make a keyhole, something like that. Having a die grinder, having a burr bit set, even something if you need to kind of mildly modify, you know, sticking one of these in your drill will definitely enable you to, again, go in without having to take a drill bit and do the wrong thing. You can take and be able to modify that steel, that aluminum, that metal, however you need to with that Carbide Bur Bit set. This set, again, this is something, if you're a machinist, obviously you'd want to spend a lot of money on this. But something like this, again, you can pick up on Amazon for probably 20, 25 bucks and have a, you know, a set of 6 or 8 bits to be handy whenever you need to, with a little ball ends that are smaller one, a larger one, and then some cones, some flatter ones. And by the way, little tip for you on aluminum. If you ever need to use these in aluminum, you can get specific aluminum burr bits. But if you don't have those, which most don't, if you'll take a little wax and spin this up and get a little wax on it, you can use drill wax, you can use candle wax, whatever, and then do your cutting in your aluminum and do that about every, say, minute or so that you're cutting. It will keep the aluminum from embedding into these teeth and in between the gaps in there, and enable you to have a lot better cutting tool, and it won't bind up and clog up your bit. And then lastly, I would recommend a pressurized sprayer. I've recommended these many, many times, whether you're picking this up at your local Napa parts store or your Harbor Freight or online, just handy to have. We use brake cleaner in these most of the time. Others use maybe WD-40, some type of oiling. You can do about anything you want to. I wouldn't recommend water. It will rust everything on the inside. But anything like brake cleaner, WD-40, lube, stuff like that. Very handy. You just basically decompress it by pushing the valve right here. Take this off, fill it with whatever fluid you want. And by the way, another tip, make sure you leave an air gap. Probably at least a third of the space is an air gap so that your compressed air will then be able to go further and push out all the fluid that you have in there. So then you put the cap back on it, fill it up with compressed air, and then you've got your endless supply of brake clean. So highly recommend those as well. Would you do us a favor? Would you let us know what we missed? What's something that you go to every day in your toolbox that we didn't include today? Also keep track of us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and even TikTok. And if you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so already. And by all means, if you hated our video, well, give us a thumbs down. But would you let us know in the comments why? Have a great day. Keep smiling.